not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum Mindset Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum.
Welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show. I'm your host, Jay Farrow.
And I am Janine Davis. Welcome, everybody. It is Friday yet again.
And happy Friday. It's last Friday in October, and we are right upon to the holidays. I mean, I am going to be the vampire again for this Halloween.
Ooh.
The lawyer vampire thing.
That's
but
exciting.
I've been a vampire every Halloween since I was Halloweening, if that's a actual comment. So, welcome back to the show. By the way, I know that you were out last week
Yes.
to a trip to Virginia to see your star niece play volleyball, a volleyball tournament. She plays for James Madison, correct?
Yes, she plays for James Madison University. It's NCAA Division I. And I just, if I can speak into that for a second, this child is, all of my nieces are the apple of my eye, and this child, we have a very special connection. I'm very lucky to have that with her and with my other two nieces. And I call her a child because she's 18, and to me, she'll always be a child. But she's 6'1". She towers over me, and she at once adores my enthusiasm and is also frightened of my enthusiasm. But it was a beautiful experience to see her. They swept both series that they played.
What position does she play?
She is called a middle hitter.
Oh.
So she is a spiker. I'm sure that's not the right term. And she's a blocker, and she flies.
So, Sophie Davis, congratulations on your career thus far. I know that you've achieved a defensive player of the year, of the
Well,
week.
it could be.
You know, I'm just speaking because I'm
hoping.
pretty sure that that's going to happen. So, welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, everybody.
Yeah.
We have a great show for today. We have a guest, Joe Petrosky, is going to be joining us around 5:30, and he is an energy healer. He's a friend. I've known him almost for 3 years now. I've worked with him on things during my transformation, and he's going to be here sharing what he does, some of the things that he's been going through. And this week, I mean, these two entrepreneurs, again, a week in the trenches, and interesting work. I mean, you never know how much stuff you can actually pack into one day. And one of the commitments I've had for this week is to shift in the mornings my perspective on the day. I mean, in other words, waking up and just whatever. If I'm waking up with some, not negativity, but not like the first thing on my mind is, yes, I can. I'm getting to the gym. I'm going. This day is going to be the most powerful day I've ever had. I'm going to kill it today. I'm on fire. I am. There's been some motivational tapes I've been listening to lately.
That's awesome. What can you recommend to our listeners?
They're actually, if you go onto YouTube and you type in best motivational speech ever, there's like these half-an-hour clips, and on the half-an-hour clips, you're going to have a litany of people, from professional sports players to some actors and some very famous voices that will get you going. I mean, there's clips that incorporate like Rocky Balboa to...
That's always a perennial favorite for men out there.
I've heard Muhammad Ali, and then it mashes things up. Mm-hmm. And it's powerful messages. Like this guy was talking about, hey, you want to be successful? Put down your cell phone. Just get rid of the cell phone. And he's like, how much time do you spend, doing the things that you shouldn't be doing? And one of the things that they're suggesting, and I think that there's someone that you refer me to. She talks about just the first thing you do is put put your cell phone away, but before you go to bed.
Mel Robbins.
Yes, Mel
Yeah,
Robbins.
she's fantastic, and she's got tons of tricks and tips. And actually, she's the
She's-
creator of the 5-second rule.
And she's one of the persons I've listened to. She's got like
Yeah,
a 15-minute
phenomenal.
TED Talk. Mm-hmm. And on her TED Talk, she was talking about things like, not just getting out of your own way, but starting your mornings off with this concept of I am, and speaking into being positive. I've used that this week. I've been on fire this week as far as my health is concerned, and I've noticed how much sugar affects because on Sunday night I had a binge on sugar. I was down at my family's house. I wrote a bit about this a little bit on Facebook about how the meal itself. I didn't write this part, but I mean I ate like 4 pieces of key lime pie cheesecake.
Oh, okay. So what could you do? Hold on one second. You bring up a really good point. So you binged on sugar.
Yes.
What does it look like if you have 1 piece of key lime pie and you really savor it? And I know that I'm not being cheeky. I'm being really serious because in a world where you should be able to enjoy yourself every now and then, and we know, and I know certainly. I don't know if our listeners know that you are allergic to the middle, thus the 4 pieces. But what might it look like for you to have just the 1? I mean, that would be something.
It's funny.
That would be a stretch for you.
Because I don't have it very often, where I do what I did on Sunday. And I just went for it.
You went gangbusters.
I went for it. I actually had this thought that I just didn't care anymore.
What does that even mean? What do you mean you don't care about what?
Because I was listening to the conversation at the table, and I was listening to, I was just looking around, and I was just like, you know what? This is not me anymore.
Say more about that.
In other words, over the 2 weeks before that, I mean, I had a difficult time getting into the gym, and I saw a lot of contrast in my life.
Okay.
So I stopped with the diet, the consistent diet. I stopped with the food as many times a week as I was eating it, and then I also stopped with my readings of personal development material. I really got off track, and because when we went to New York, I mean, it was like one thing after another. There was a tremendous amount of work that we were doing at the office.
That was a stressful, really not such a great trip.
Things that we were doing in the press. There was things that we were doing at the office. So I had about 2 weeks of being off track, and the Saturday before Sunday, I went to the gym and I killed it. I mean, I was there at 4:00 in the morning, or not 4:00, but I got up early, and I really had a day of contrast of knowing what I want and what I don't want. So when I got to that meal, I was like, oh, it really tasted good, and I was eating what we had, like steak and this and that. And I was looking at the meal, I'm like, and I see people putting the salad dressing on their salad, and it was so good for me to have done that. Because
when you were observing all of this, what was going through your mind?
This isn't me anymore. This isn't me. Like, I know better than to eat this way. Like, in other words, I want so badly to get back on track that seeing this, the way that other humans eat, and even as my family, it's my family, but I mean, it's just the way that there's just more. Here, have more, have seconds. Why aren't you eating more seconds? And I know this is going to come up for the holidays. Why aren't you doing this? Last night, we were having dinner with some friends, and when you're like, okay, I'm not going to have the glass of wine, you can see the social pressure. It's like, oh, we're out. Let's have the glass of wine.
Yeah.
Like when I was there, it was like, here, here's another piece of cake. Here, why aren't you having this? And then we were kind of playing games with the whipped cream shaker, But it's like life. It's like life, because forget about the fact that I was at dinner with my family.
Yeah.
Okay? The people that I eat with are the same thing with the people that I play with, and the same thing with the people that I work with, are the things that I choose to put into my life. If I listen to those motivational tapes or the YouTube, and I listen to Mel Robbins, if I listen to Tony Robbins in the car, if I listen to that content is like food. as opposed to listening to CNN. If I surround myself with books on personal development as opposed to CNN, I'm digesting energetically.
Agreed.
Material that's going to support me.
Mm-hmm.
If I surround my people that have the yes I can attitude, then more likely than not, I'm going to have the yes I can. And if I don't, someone's going to be there to pick me up and saying, hey, I know you can make it today. You got this. I need to hear that.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, you're speaking to something. Everybody's going to need to hear something different. But luckily, in the YouTube age, there's a motivational or inspirational or something or other that can really speak into it. So you happen to like these people. I think they're fantastic people. I listen to them myself. And someone else is going to find something maybe, I don't know, a little more spiritual. Someone's going to do Kundalini yoga. Someone's going to do a meditation. Someone's going to listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza or different things. But the point is, what you're saying, to ingest as many good calories, right, in the form of information, in the form of food, in the form of the company you keep, in the form of intellect, in the form of what you choose to work with and who you work with and what you're doing and what you're creating. I think it's really powerful.
Because I saw how people celebrate mediocrity together. They celebrate.
But wait a minute. You love to say that, but okay, go ahead.
Okay. We had a powerful meeting with a client last week on Thursday, or maybe maybe last week.
It was last week
Thursday, and that conversation changed my life. It literally changed my life. It was one of like one of those moments where I told you, like when the guy told me, "Hey,
like
you're playing."
Come to Jesus.
It was like you're playing life with a B. You basically got. How did you get a B in college? That conversation that we had with this client was exactly like that for me. So when I was looking there, and he's like, "I can't understand why you're not excited about what we just found in this particular case," I was stunned because I recognized my own playing small.
Yeah.
And I recognized that I'm better than this.
Yeah.
And it stung. And I had one of those moments that I was looking at myself in the mirror and I recognized that I was playing small. I was playing not to lose is one way to play. And that's a way to play.
Yeah.
Not to lose.
Yeah.
I wasn't even playing that game. I was playing the game of how quickly can I get to the reward portion of this.
Yes.
Because I know there's a reward, okay? There's no doubt in this case there's a reward, right?
Yeah.
But I was playing the game such that I wanted to get to the reward without having to go through the journey to get there. In other words, I don't want to play. I don't want to learn all those lessons, those beautiful lessons. I don't want to go through all that pain.
Yep.
I just want to have this plug and play and let me hit the reward, okay?
Yep.
And then thinking that once I get the reward, I will be happy and comfortable and safe.
Yeah.
And that way, with that comfort and safety, the money that would come with that, I would then go and do the next thing. But the thing is, I had to look at myself and realize and recognize in that moment that everything that client was telling me about how the game should be played was 100% accurate, except for a couple of things.
Okay. So I was privy to that conversation,
Right.
and I know that it bothered you to an extent, and I know that my opinion about that conversation also bothered you because I saw what he was saying also. And but you did something that I had asked you to do, which was to look. And you didn't look because I asked you to look, but you looked. And I think that this is a really incredibly powerful thing because that conversation changed your life.
It changed my life. In the car this morning, though, I recognized another piece about the conversation. It was very beautiful. What I recognized was I was playing small. I was playing to get the reward, not playing not to lose. Like I didn't even want to play. I was like,
Right.
You know what? Nah, I just want to let me just have all that, the what I consider to be the fun, the juicy, the comfort, the safety. That's what I was playing for. Not even not to lose. Because I think even playing not to lose has a strategy to win the game. This is like I don't even want to play. But some of the things that he was saying, that my body was literally like, no, that's not how Jay Farrow wants to play, because that's not how you really are. If you're good, you don't have to play all that nonsense. You don't have to play the game. one of the things that I recognize is that if I'm playing all out, my gut knows what to do, and to trust my gut. I don't have to act like a used car salesman,
Right.
okay, to get what I want. Because the thing is that my strategy, my willingness to look deeper and further into the cases, into the law, into the facts, ask more profound questions, take a bigger leap in the context of the case. No one's got it on me. Because I'm allergic to the middle. Because I'm willing to go that extra mile. But that's where I find my greatness, and I think that this is why this is such a powerful conversation for our listeners, is that I don't need to pretend to be somebody that I'm not to get to where I want to go. In other words, if I am really true to myself and I'm walking in my truth, my integrity, and I was saying to myself, I don't need to play this game where I'm like, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. I'm not telling the other side anything. I'm just going to do what Jay Farrow does and then allow that to speak for itself. And in all of that is Jay playing the game. And if I know that I'm doing that 100%, not playing not to lose, not discarding it like I don't want to go through the pain to get there.
Right.
But actually saying, and I accepted it in that moment. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to actually have to litigate these cases. It's like the other side is not going to be, and it's a shock. The other side is not going to look at this and actually do a cost-benefit analysis.
Right.
Actually, you know what? One of the things that we've talked about on the show
several times,
is that they're doing what they're doing. They're being bullies.
to line their own pockets.
No. Actually, no. They're doing what they're doing because it's the only thing that they know how to do. In other words, they don't know how to love. They don't know. They were never shown how to love. Mm-hmm. How could anybody look at what we're showing them? As a matter of fact, what we're giving them is the only love that they know.
Yeah.
In other words, when I'm coming at somebody, I'm saying the word civil racketeering, or if I'm coming at them with the law and I'm saying, hey, these are the consequences, guys. Why don't you give up now? Why would they give up when, in fact, they want to get the crap knocked out of them? Because that's the love that they know. So they want the fight. They want the agony. Mm-hmm. They want the fear, because that's all they know is what love is.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
So what I'm saying is, eventually I'll get to the point where I'll be able to show them like there's a better way. But that only comes by me doing what I do, going through the process. Like going through the gym.
It's all a process.
Going to the gym, doing the extra rep, translates to going into the office and writing that extra interrogatory, that extra request for production.
Right.
Asking, hey, to this one witness, hey, could you know it about, can you give me 5 other names of witnesses? And then calling those people and having conversations with them and asking them if they know 5 other witnesses. Because that is
right, of course.
That, ultimately, when you have victim number 1, is one thing. Then there's victim number 2, and number 3, and number 4. And that's really, you start developing the case, and what's beautiful about it is, this is the opus. This is the work. Yeah. This is what comes out of actually going through the process.
Yeah.
And those are the results that show up, and those are the lives that you touch because of what you do. If I'm playing for the money, if anybody's just playing for the money, it's like you may get there. And I talked to a couple people that have this. They, for whatever reason, the universe gives them money, and that is their albatross of growth. In other words, they want to make some money, and the universe is like, here's $50,000 a month without even having to lift a finger. And then they're bored, and then all the other kind of stuff that shows up. For me, I didn't want to go through it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go through another thing that was going to cause the agony, the pain, the fear, the discomfort, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, it's arduous work, Jay. So, yeah, of course you didn't want to go through it. And that's what most people don't know.
So when I came to this person's house and I was like, hey, guy, let's look at this from the perspective as, I was attempting to shift him into moving closer towards what they were doing, as opposed to, hey, this is what's come up, and let's look at this from another angle, you know. And it wasn't until like I was listening to this for about 2 hours about like how wonderful things were and how we could look at this from another perspective that I recognized that I was negotiating against myself. I'm going to say that again. How many of us have negotiated against themselves to avoid the process? And I've said it before, there's no prosthetic for process. And 5 years from now, what am I going to be giving a lecture on in front of a group of lawyers about the pattern and practice of civil racketeering as I'm giving a CLE on the subject, if I've never gone through the process of a $100 million claim, because this is what we're looking at now.
Yeah, it's just getting bigger.
When I'm looking at a $100 million scam, you know, I'm looking at something that yesterday didn't exist, but now it does. Why? Because we talked to 25 witnesses, you know?
Yeah.
But that's the thing is but even though I have this thing, and this is, I know I'm going on and on, but it's important. I had this potential case all along. But instead of looking at this, I was like so fixated on, well, if I put this on the end game and putting this piece of pressure on and putting this piece of pressure on, because I was looking for them to blink as opposed to just putting my head down and just grinding it out and doing the things that I know that I should do in excellence. But I wanted to.
You wanted a shortcut.
I wanted a shortcut. And that's what I played for. And the thing is that the universe was like, listen, man, I'm going to show you something here in a second. But listen, if you're open to sitting there and getting stung for a little bit, I'm going to give you some truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really interesting because and what I think this is an important conversation is that we're all looking for a shortcut, whether we realize it or not.
Right.
And all of the good stuff, all of the growth, all of the lessons, all of what stings, but then what's on the other side of it, it's all in that process. It's all bypassing the shortcut altogether. It's all in that walk. And when we try to shortcut it, the universe loves us and has different ideas. It will literally not allow us to do it in most instances. So it's like these situations come up for us because it's kind of like, hey, buddy, you know, or hey, Janine, in my case, like you wanted to circumvent, you wanted to have a shortcut. You wanted to bypass the thing that was uncomfortable or difficult or whatever. I have other ideas for you. And then it's on us to figure out, what do we do with that? What do we make that mean for ourselves? And so to your point, in this particular situation, you took that very difficult 2-hour conversation and you transformed it into something that worked for you. And so I think that this is really something that we can all take away from that. What is it in that discomfort or that awkwardness or that difficult situation that stings and that is inconvenient or bumps up against us and irritates us or whatever? What is it in that we could really get some meat off the bones? Because there's always meat on the bones.
So I guess I want to recap this because I had a conversation last week with a client and about a particular case, and I was giving the results of the week, so to speak, a week or two, and I was suggesting that we need to take one particular strategy, which I was looking for the shortcut towards the resolution, right, where everybody gets paid, us included, and then we move on to the next case. What I didn't see is that I was arguing for my smallness. Yeah. I was arguing for the smallness of the case. And this is like I was unconsciously because I didn't see it. In other words, I'd gotten some feedback from the other side, and I was like, okay, well, if all this, but my default, Jay Farrow's default was, let's argue for the smallness, because even the smallness of this case is huge beyond what my mind was thinking about. But instead, I got stung with some truth for about 2 hours, And mind you, like, not like I was getting my butt handed to me. No. But the way that it was presented and the way that I took it, my face was stunned because I knew. He didn't know. Maybe you didn't know so much as I knew that I was playing for the result as opposed to the journey. In other words, I was playing.
I knew, and by the way, I think he knew too.
Okay. I mean, but this I'm
it
saying,
doesn't matter.
But it was me looking at this from the perspective of when you're doing anything, any goal that you're going after, if you're playing for the result as opposed to playing for the journey, now I'm like arguing to play for the journey because why not? Why not more of a legal battle? Why not the other opportunity to go before a judge and argue your case? Which, by the way, I've had 2 federal hearings this last month
that you've really enjoyed.
I've really enjoyed. It actually brought me back to like this is what law school. This is why I went to law school. I mean, to be able to argue a case, to have my case law, to be prepared, to be able to cite the actual page numbers, and to get really deep into the discourse of a legal argument. I was just on fire. All of this stuff is showing up in tandem as we're going up here. But I was like saying, well, we're going to go get into these cases and we're going to circumvent the legal system when in fact we're going to do both, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I'm not going to.
It's expanding instead of contracting.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're making law. Matter of fact, we just made law in the Southern District of Florida on an FDCPA case.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I am playing for the joy of the journey, I mean, the results are great. The results are something that you're pointing at. It's a target, that's a vision.
Mm-hmm.
But playing for the journey itself, playing for what I get to learn on the journey. Yeah. And that moment when I'm sitting there and now I'm reflecting on it, I was thinking about it this morning, was I can do all of that because my resistance to it is like, you're asking me to be somebody that I'm not. You're asking me to play this used car salesman attorney bit, when I'm talking to somebody. I'll never do that. I don't have to do that. I'm not going to give out what the cards are. But the thing is that I'm also going to work to always have that hand, regardless. I'm going to play the hand, but I'm going to make that hand because it is. Every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser.
Right.
Right?
Such a good song,
It
Jay.
is such a good song.
Thank you for, bringing the gambler into our,
Well, I mean, that song, the song of life, right? Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run.
Yeah.
I
grew up on that.
So you can play poker, but trust yourself, right?
Yes.
And when I was sitting there, part of, yes, I was being stunned, and yes, and I'm thinking, I can trust myself. I know how to talk to somebody. Maybe my bit's never going to be, this used car salesman bit, but it's going to be like, hey, I'm going to give you an example. I know we have to go to a break, but I listened to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals argument in the Trump tax thing the other night because I wanted to listen how lawyers at this level are arguing their cases before a federal appellate court. Now, I've argued, I think 2 or 3 times before the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. So the 2nd and the 11th are the stepping stones. So they're right underneath the United States Supreme Court. It's rather an honor to actually ever have oral argument before one of these.
100%.
And I was listening to this argument, and I was hoping to hear. My ear was hoping to hear the 11th Circuit really calling out the Trump's attorney for, like, what are you thinking? How is it possible that a state district attorney can't subpoena records from? And to my surprise, they made a go of it. And the judges were listening to the arguments, and it was like fascinating to hear. It's like, hey, you know what? You always have a position. You always have something, because if you do your homework, the law will give you the legal framework to zealously advocate for your client. It was just a huge, huge lesson for the process, because there's always something there. You always have a hand, and how you play it is be a polished, attorney. But whatever you're doing in your business, if you do your homework and you prepare, and that's the journey, right? From whether you're in the gym or you're getting ready for a track meet or anything else, you're going to be all right. Right. But playing for the result and hoping to get there as quickly as possible, and not, hey, can I get a shortcut? Every time I've ever done that, I've regretted it. And this time, luckily I got stopped in my tracks, and I had the
Right.
benefit of this moment, and I'm grateful for it. So this was like a longer check-in than usual. I hope you guys found it valuable. We do have to take a break, and we will be right back with our guest, Joe Petrosky.
Thank you, everyone.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show. I am your host, Jay Farrow.
And I am Janine Davis. Welcome back, everybody. We have Joe Petrosky joining us now
Yes.
via telephone. And we can't wait to... Joe,
I see
you're
him.
looking well.
Yes.
And video. Yay.
So we want to welcome Joe to the show. Joe's a friend. He's also an energy healer. He has his own business. He does work in the area of personal development as well. He's a speaker. He's been all over, I believe, the United States, and we have him here, and he is now recovering from some serious health issues.
Yes.
And
Joe, please tell us how you're doing.
Yeah, how you doing, Joe?
It's been an interesting process. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you slightly.
Slightly. Okay.
Okay, please speak up, Joe. It's as high
Okay,
as
I'll
it can
speak
go, so please speak up.
Okay. How am I doing? Well, it's been a very, very interesting process. August 18th, I went into the emergency room. I've had 3 surgeries since then, another emergency room visit.
Wow.
The thing that the doctors tell me is, Joe, slow down. And I looked and I'm thinking, it's like, how on earth can you slow down a turtle?
Right.
Because I've not worked much at all. I take about 1 or 2 clients a week for the energy healing. I'm still doing the coaching, which I thoroughly enjoy.
Fantastic.
I'm doing the readings because the readings I'm doing for a half an hour, and I love them. They're fun as can be, and they take very little energy, but the healing takes more. It's going to be a process. I have to have another procedure in November, and then the reconnective surgery in December. And so I'll be in the hospital for anywhere from 1.5 to 3 weeks, and then home health care for another 2. So I have a road in front of me. But it's been an incredible learning experience. I shared with Jay.
Joe, please speak up, dearest. Do you think you could speak a little louder?
Sure, as long as you're telling me it's not yelling, that'll be fine.
You know what? At this point, you could yell because the volume is just turned down. I don't want you. You are such an incredible person. I don't want anybody to miss a thing.
Okay.
So please, if it sounds like yelling to you, we're good.
Okay. When I was in the hospital, I was on morphine for 4 days because of the pain. And every single time I fell asleep, whether it was for 10 minutes or 2 hours, I had the same nightmare over and over. And the nightmare, literally, it was like I was kidnapped and I was put into this room like you see on movies with CIA. And it's a stale room, and it was this green, ghoulish light. And I could hear this thing, do you accept yourself? And I'm like, well, yeah, I accept myself. And it kept on saying, oh, really? Do you accept yourself? And I was like,
so you're saying
yeah?
The dream kept on saying, do you accept yourself?
Exactly.
Over and over.
Over and over.
Wow.
And as soon as I would say that I do accept myself, it would ask me again, and then it would show me events that I had forgotten about. Events that,
wow.
It's like, oh my God, I forgot that I did that. And so it was things in my subconscious. And Jay, you were talking in the first half of this show about what we do subconsciously, our stuckness. And so it would show me the exact issues. And, there was one issue that was so hard to deal with. And it was an issue that when my daughters were little, that I screamed at them one time. And we were going over to my parents' house. They were late. We were going to be late for dinner. But what it was is I wasn't upset with them for being late. I was upset because they were going to meet my girlfriend that had just broken up with me 2 days prior to that. I was upset about my failure. I was upset about this. And so instead of me being able to just say, hey, you know what, I'm really in my shit, I'm really upset, what it was is I took my anger out on them. And then the dream said, so Joe, how's that? Do you accept yourself now? And I had to look at it, and thankfully, I've done a lot of work with my daughters. When they were little, I would let them put me in timeouts at times.
That's so cute.
But I also, since then, I've talked very, very openly with my daughters, because my life, since my 20s, I've been doing, repairing who I am and creating the Joe that I want to be. Because the old Joe was not a good Joe. I was a jackass. I had a lot of problems. And so I talked with my daughters openly about my mistakes so they could feel that. And I said, how does that feel? And it was very interesting because it empowered them to be able to feel their feelings and to know that Dad was wrong and that they were actually right to feel mad. They were right to feel hurt. They were right to feel questioned. And so I was able in that dream to be able to say, yes, I do accept myself. But
wow, that is so powerful. And what is the correlation to your healing after that?
It was so incredible because as I went through this, it took me 4 days, and the questions got deeper and deeper about, do I really accept Joe? Because here I am, I'm a healer. I'm not able to heal myself at this point. I'm a bump on a bed. I can't do anything. I'm not earning any money. I had to put up a GoFundMe account in order to pay my bills. And it's like, hey, dude, do you really accept yourself? And I, with all of my shame, with all of my guilt, I was like, how do I find worth in me? And I had to find worth in this bump on a bed. I had to find value in me. And it was so interesting because when I came to that point, it was like, you know what? I really, really do accept me. My blood pressure changed completely because they had been doing my blood pressure.
Amazing.
You know what's interesting, Joe? I had a moment like that where I was laying like that lump of nothingness on that hospital bed. It's coming up on 3 years in a week. And I remember asking myself if I was about to ask for help. I was going to ask God for help. I wasn't happy about that, but I had heard that it's a good thing to start asking for help in my circumstances. And the thought came up to me is like, am I even worth asking for help? Mm-hmm. In other words, should the universe just let me go? Should God just let me go? And then I just said, God, please help me. Was my first prayer like that I can remember. It was simple as that.
Wow.
But I know that I know that feeling. How do you find worth, and where do I go from here?
Yeah, that's huge.
I wasn't able to work. I wasn't able to talk. I wasn't able to move. And then finding value, asking myself, am I worth being saved?
Yeah.
And so how did you get into healing to begin with, and what is your training like?
Right, and please distinguish for our listeners between the energy healing and the readings that you do, because it's both aspects are so fascinating.
Okay, I didn't know this when I was growing up, but now I do. I had sustained a different illness back in the late 90s, and I was sick for over 6.5 years. I was on oxygen for almost 2 years, and after working with me for 6.5 years, the doctor sent me home to die. They had tried everything. There was one more treatment that they could try, but if it didn't work, it would kill me. And so they weren't willing to try it. Mm. And so I kept on trying everything you can imagine. Reiki, Qigong, shamanic healing, hands-on, you name it, I tried it until I met this 35th generation Shaolin master. And when I met him, he looked at me and he says, you can do this too. And I looked, I'm like, I'm the one that's dying. I'm like, how on earth can I do this, And but he looked at me without saying a word with his eyes, and I could feel it and I could see it that yes, you can. So I went to him and his students, and after the second hour, I was off the oxygen.
Wow.
And after the third,
Oh, my gosh.
and after the third, I was completely healthy. And so I went back and I said, so what do you mean I can do this? And so he set me up with one of the most beautiful mentors that you can imagine. John was a 6th-degree black belt in 2 different disciplines, had studied energy forever. And John took me under his wing. And for 3.5 years, I studied this every single day. I worked on people at least 3 days out of the week. And I spent 5.5 years in training before the Shaolin master took me aside and said, hey, Joe, you're doing so well, you're doing so amazing, and you're doing differently than I taught you. You need to go teach what you're doing.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing. So the student became the master.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And
So, Joe, sorry, Jay, could you please describe for our listeners, too, what your process as you work on energy for people, because you have a really special process.
Well, I'm a clairvoyant, clairsentient, and clairaudient, which means I can see, hear, and feel everything that your body's going through. And I don't look unless people ask. But when you do, your body will talk to me. Your body will tell me events, people, places, and things that you've gone through that have caused your illness and your pain. And as I pay attention to that, sometimes I'll talk with you, sometimes I won't. And as I pay attention to you, the issue will go away. I'm able to restore people to 100% range of motion and 0 pain, even though they've been told the only option is joint replacement surgery.
Joe, wait, Joe, 1 second. When he first touched my body, he gave me it was like a massage on like my shoulder and here, and then I was like laying up, facing up, and he touched my ribs. He's like, "You've broken both your shoulders and your ribs." And I was like, how would you ever know that? And he's like, and this was years after I had actually broken them.
Yeah.
But then he said, this thing here is like, and he knew about, and he touched my liver, and he's like, there's something going on here. He's like, yeah. He's like, this looks like, it was cirrhotic. Like, yep. And then we've worked together. So what he's saying is 100% accurate.
I've also had the pleasure of the experience with you too, and it's always been remarkable. And you're very, very talented, and the ease and the lightness and peace after working with you is something that I've not experienced before with other healers.
I worked with him the day before, or 2 days before I went to surgery to get my gallbladder removed in January of 2018. Via phone, because you could do this by phone, right, Joe?
Yes, yeah. I have clients all over the world. Yep.
So
So explain to people because not everybody is familiar. Jay and I are familiar, and I happen to believe in these modalities very much. But explain to someone how you could move energy for them or be effective in energy treatment over the telephone.
Well, if you know any Greg Braden, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Dean Rodden, I've met all of these people, and I've had conversations with all of them. And scientifically, they call what people like me do, they call us the observer and the observer effect. In quantum physics, they realize that if somebody just simply observes an experiment or an issue, as they observe it, it changes.
Right.
So
wow.
Yeah. So I've worked, and I've made it my life to be of service. I set out the prayer and the intention to only see what I need to see, hear what I need to hear, and feel what I need to feel in order to be able to help the person. And then only say the words that you need to hear, And you had asked the difference between the healings and the readings.
Yes.
The readings are, I can actually look at somebody and I can see, automatically, I see the best that a person can be. So people sometimes when they realize that I'm a psychic or an intuitive, they freak out and it's like, oh my God, what's he looking at? I don't.
It's true. I've had that thought myself. I'm like, oh no, what can they see? Yeah.
I don't want you looking in my underwear drawer, so why in the heck would I look in yours?
Right.
Well, yeah, but that also speaks to your integrity, right?
Certainly. There's so many people out there that, are healers, and they're just surfing on other people's energy. And to me, I think that's really kind of some of the dirtiest and grossest things, because energy healing is magnificent, and it's huge. And so for somebody to work with your energy, you're literally, like Jay said, I could touch your body and I could see what was going on.
Right.
If I wanted to, I could touch it and I could make it feel certain things. So to be an energy worker, you should be impeccable with boundaries. Because whatever you do, they're going to feel it. It's going to affect them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've had people trespass on my boundaries when they've been healing me. And so I don't do that with people. And so if I see you, and I've told you this, if I see you in public, I'm probably going to have a smile first because I see the highest resonance of who you are. I see the absolute beauty. And often people don't even know their own high capability. They don't know the best thing about them. And so one of the first things that I do is I let people know their magnificence. When I do a reading, I let them know, hey, do you realize that this is one of your best talents, this is one of your best talents, and this is one of your... And so I tell them the absolute best things about them. And then if they want me to, I'll tell them, it's like, hey, these are some things that you can work on, and these are why. And so in the readings, I give them all kinds of incredible, beautiful, wonderful information, all kinds of clarity. Because
is it a psychic reading?
Yeah, it is. Psychic a lot of times is used in a bad thing. I don't fortune tell, but sometimes I tell people, it's like, hey, if you do this, this would be a possibly really good thing for you. And, that kind of stuff. But when people say, am I going to meet my boyfriend? Am I going to meet my, future husband? It's like, well, I don't answer those kind of questions.
Now, you're being, one of the things we talked about, we were on the phone in a private conversation about 2 weeks ago, is that you are being treated by what you called Western medicine now. And how do you reconcile like the two? In other words, is there a time and place for everything?
Oh, heck yeah. Yes. I need to scream that really loud. Yes, there is. As you see, I've gone to the Western medicine. There's times where, one of my very, very best friends, I said, sweetie, come on, you need to have chemo. Because she was doing everything natural, and she's like, I have to do it natural. I've been preaching natural for years. And I says, yeah, and so far it hasn't worked for you. Please, please, please do chemo. And when she had to come to grips with it because she saw chemo as this ugly, horrible demon. Right. I said, then don't do it. Don't do energy work if you think it's bad. You have to be able to believe that it's incredibly good for you, that it's wonderful, that it's a gift from Creator. And then if you do, then do it. And so when she came to grips and said, you know what? Yeah, somehow Creator made this, stuff, and it's going to help my body. She did it, and this tumor started to shrink and shrink and shrink.
Now, is it possible to do
that
two at the same time?
That speaks into the power of belief, right? Also.
Doing two at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like you were just saying, because in quantum physics, there is this thing, it's like you cannot measure a particle without disturbing it. In other words, quantum physics is basically saying that electrons are nothing more than probability waves. It means that there is nothing solid, and it's all energy. But when consciousness, when someone observes something, is when you'll see the particle, and that's when the particle comes into existence because there's someone who's focused on the particle. Now, the same thing here. It's like if you're using energy, like work, as the observer, and then you're also doing the medicine at the same time, the Western medicine at the same time. I think that it's a powerful combination. I mean, and I'm shocked that Western medicine doesn't feel the same way about what you do. I mean, that's the other thing. There's this thing about woo-woo, and I a few years ago, I mean, chicken wings and butter and salt were 3 food groups out of the 4. And now it's like, I shop organically. I mean, I've had my transformation education in nutrition. Yeah. So I've come a long way. 3 years ago, if someone would have told me about, hey, if just lie back and allow this person to do some work on you, I would have been like, I'm not doing this.
Right, no way.
I have come to believe in what Joe does. I mean, I've come to believe that there is a time and place, that there is and I say you don't know what you don't know, but allowing someone to work on you energetically while you're going through something else, or just completely alone before anything happens. Right. Because I know that when Joe and I were working together in sessions, that my health improved, I mean, just from week to week to week to week.
Yeah. Absolutely.
without having to necessarily be sick first. So we're talking about preventative care, Joe.
Oh, yeah. Energy healing is terrific. And like you said, can it be combined with Western medicine? Yes, it can really be that way. And if the doctor is willing to work with me, I'll work with the doctor and I'll suggest things. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll tell the client, say, hey, you know what? You have 4 different chemo options. Find out what they are. I'll tell you which one's going to be the best with your energy signature now. And then you can take that information back to the doctor and the two of you can make a choice.
What is an energy signature?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that question.
What is an energy signature?
Energy signature, if you read Power versus Force, it talks about that. Every single thing has its own energy signature. And when you were talking about the quantum particles, for example, MRI is the magnetic resonance imaging, okay? They can do an MRI and they can tell you if you're healthy, if they can tell you if you're sick, they can tell you exactly what kind of illness, they can tell you what's showing up because of the energetic resonance, magnetic resonance. And so energy is real. They use it to diagnose all day long, and so.
So what is it? What is the leap? What is going on that Western medicine doesn't have? Like someone like you walking through through the hospital, going through patient to patient to patient to patient, saying and making recommendations. Because it seems to me, that this would be nothing but a benefit. But it doesn't seem like this is. And it is getting more and more.
I think
accepted.
So. People are accepting, and being educated in these modalities.
What do you think? What do you think the disconnect is?
Well, if you ever want to see something really interesting, really mind-blowing, and vulgarly upsetting, go back to the American Medical Association. Go back to their first advertisements. Because what they did is they had an advertisement. There was a huge billboard in New York, and it made it into, goodness sakes, it was right next to Rockwell, all of his types of paintings. And what it was is they showed this herbalist, and this woman was, into her 80s, and she was hunched over, she was missing some teeth, and she had a scarf on her head, and she looked like the witch from Hansel and Gretel. And then they had this doctor and this nice, handsome man with this white coat, that little the mirror thing and the stethoscope. Who would you trust your child with?
Oh, my goodness. Talk about an incredible amount of brainwashing, painting a picture of fear.
Right.
To educate people or to sway.
And that's been done over and over and over. And then, unfortunately, right now, if you look at it, what's the reason? Unfortunately, cash. Money.
This is
when you look at it,
the best answer I've ever heard. This is it right here.
Yeah, but speak more into that.
Yes.
So, cash in what way?
Well,
you can't insure any. What, you don't take insurance? Is that what it is, or?
Oh, well, that's one thing. But Jay had asked, how come the medical community doesn't embrace me? When I was ill, I had 2 of the doctors come up to me and they said, you know what? We apologize. When we went through medical school, they taught us symptom and pill. They didn't teach us how to cure the body. She says, I know what your body's doing, but they never taught us how to change the body. That's, that was an incredible doctor in Minnesota. And she, if you look at her pedigree, she's got more alphabet soup after her name, so she's a very, very, very good, and she admitted that she goes, we weren't taught how to help you. And so with the medical association, some people are grabbing onto it. Luckily, when I was in the hospital, when I told people, I embarrassedly say, well, actually, I'm a healer. And they're like, cool, tell me about it. And they wanted to find out about it. And there's some doctors that will do that. When I was in Minnesota, because of the fact that I had a long history of seeing doctors, there was doctors that would call me up and say, hey, Joe, I have this client I can't help. She's absolutely miserable. She's sick, and I can't help her. None of my colleagues can help her.
Right.
Can you give it a try?
Wow.
And I would give it a try. And, the things that I was able to help do, because the client was really, really open. And I completely believe Dr. Bernie Siegel. Dr. Bernie Siegel said, I don't have any patients, and I don't want my sick clients to have patients either. The more impatient they are, the better they are going to be at getting help.
So
That's an interesting
how
way to put it.
how can people get a hold of you? Because I know that you're kind of out of it, right? But if someone wanted to have a reading right now, I know that you're still doing that. How do they get a hold of you?
They can email me at profoundpowerjoe@gmail. It's profoundpowerjoe@gmail. And my phone number is 651, and I always have to tell people down here in Palm Beach County, yes, it's 651-755-6027.
Say that one more time, please, Joe.
Yeah.
And a little slower. Say it one more time, because we really want people to know how to get in touch with you.
Okay, profoundpowerjoe@gmail, and then 651-755-6027. And
Awesome.
I always give a complimentary consultation because, Jay, as you said, a lot of people don't know about this. They don't know what's possible.
Right.
So I want them to be able to ask all the questions that they need to.
Yeah, to have that
really,
experience.
Yeah, to know if they want to work with me.
Yeah.
You know, to know if they feel that vibration after talking to them, say, yeah, I definitely want to do this. And because when a person can feel at peace with their choices, they can really make a lot of progress very fast.
Yeah.
And very, very often when I work with people, in 1 or 2 sessions, it'll eliminate most issues. And I love that. And when people say, well, my situation is hopeless, well, if you believe it's hopeless, then don't call me.
And that's
But
and we have
That's a
we have
very
like 30
big
seconds
thing.
left, but that's it. Whatever you truly believe, you know, if you
Yeah.
believe that what the work that he's doing, you know, if you believe in it,
Yeah.
it's going to work.
Absolutely.
And Joe, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. It's really been an honor. We're so happy that you're
Thank
on the
you,
mend.
everybody, for-
and have a beautiful weekend. And to everybody, we wish you a fantastic weekend.
Be safe for Halloween. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, Joe. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.